So throughout all of these draft vids I've done, I keep on saying about Cam Reddish, someone's going to take this guy eventually. He's a risk because of his output in college and the times when he looked a little disinterested or didn't really know how to make an impact when he didn't have the ball that much. But his size and all the talent and potential is there for him to be a really great player, to the point where I think I could picture somebody before number 8, which is the Hawks here, of course, taking a swing on him. But based on a lot of mock drafts that I've seen and all that, it seems Cam Reddish is around number 10 or so. And I'm thinking, if there's any team that already has enough of an established culture to take in a guy like Cam, then it could be the Hawks. Plus, he's projected to go around here anyway, so that just might be the natural pick. But first off, I would expect that Trae Young's spacing and Kevin Huerter's could do a lot for Cam, because in college, some of the problems that Cam had is sometimes he looked a little too scared to drive, where he would begin his drive, but he would settle for a jumper, or he would just kind of freak out once the defense really committed to him. And if the defense is just not going to be able to commit to you because you got potentially the second best shooting backcourt in the league, well, that's going to help out anybody. It could also help that you'll have John Collins patrolling around the rim for alley-oops and things like that, because he's pretty good at just kind of knowing where to be. And I think Collins' three-point potential showed something this year. So there's a chance that the spacing around Cam could just be really good. The next thing is, with how good of a playmaker that Trae Young is, Cam could also get a lot of good shots. I mean, for as amazing as Zion was in college, it wasn't like he was Ja Morant out there who could predict what the defense is going to do before the defense even does it, which could have gotten Cam some more open shots, and Trae Young is to that level of passer, in my opinion, so that could certainly help Cam, whether it's in transition and open threes, where he's projected to be awesome. And I think Cam could be an alley-oop target himself, assuming that he is willing to accept contact, which was something that was a little iffy for him in college. And also another thing to look at is Cam's potential defensively, and really just his size overall, because whether this is true or not, we all like to say that the Hawks are trying to model themselves after the Warriors, right? Trae is Steph, Huerter is Clay, Amari Spellman is Draymond. John Collins doesn't really line up with anything the Warriors have had, but in terms of being a big team who can do a lot of things in terms of multiple guys can play the power forward position and a lot of guys can switch defensively and all that, you know, Cam's size at 6'8" and being really strong fits into that idea. I mean, you know, John Collins, how tall is he? He's obviously taller than the average dude. He's 6'10", right? He's 6'10". If Spellman can lose more weight, you still have Taurean Prince, although his status with the team is a little iffy, but he's a guy who at least has the potential to switch among a few positions. Cam's big enough to do it, so I can kind of see if they wanted to go that route as well. I mean, it does seem like the Hawks are trying to really be a modern-day team. I mean, they ran a lot of pick and rolls this year. They were 9th in pick and roll frequency on NBA.com, and they were 3rd in three-point attempts per game. So it just seems like they're going in that direction, and I guess Cam Reddish's size and potential could certainly lead to that. And if Cam was comfortable and the spacing was good and he was able to get good shots and that gave him time to work on some of the problems he has in terms of just fitting into a good basketball team, I guess, then there's a chance that the Hawks' ceiling offensively could be really, really high. I mean, we assume that Trae is a guy who can make all NBA teams and all-star games and all that stuff, and his spacing is going to be pretty wild. It pretty much already is, but that, I think Huerter can be at least a solid 16, 17 a game guy who you have to be kind of glued to defensively. And then Reddish, I mean, the guy does have plus 20-point potential. It's just a matter of if he can put it all together. Now, there is a fear that he's the next Ben McElmore, but being positive, being a little optimistic, that could end up being really good for the Hawks. So that is my idea. I think if any team is in a position to take a risk for Cam Reddish, it is the Atlanta Hawks. Now, we can discuss other players, of course. If they were going to go with a guard, I guess it would be Kobe White, because I think Garland and Trae Young together, a little redundant on offense, and defensively that could be a disaster. But Kobe's a little bigger, and he might be a little better at playing off the ball, stuff like that. The next player who I guess could be categorized as a wing, if it's not Cam, is basically Brandon Clark, and I had some nice things to say about him for the Bulls. So I think the Hawks are hoping that Spellman can be their version of Brandon Clark, the guy who can play the 4 and potentially even small ball 5, although I give Clark a better chance at that than Spellman, who can make plays with the ball and care about defense and all that stuff. Basically the Draymond Green of the team, right? The thing is that Clark is probably better than Spellman already. I mean, Spellman did some things this season, he certainly played, but he still needs to lose weight and things like that, whereas Clark just seems to be a couple years ahead of him, so that could be a route they go if they want more of a sure thing, because I do think he's a safer pick than Cam is. And then after that, I don't really know. I mean, if you're confident enough in John Collins' skills, and I think he's showing reason to believe that with his post moves and going off the dribble, and his 3 at least showed signs this season of improvement, then maybe you go with Dumboya. I mean, the potential there with Collins and him could really be something, because that could be maybe the most athletic front court in the league if you were going to play one of them at center, but even then, both of them might be a little too short to play it. I mean, Collins has played center, but whether that's the long-term option or not, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the Hawks, they've got some choices, and again, there's definitely safer picks than Cam Reddish, but to basically repeat what I've been saying this whole time, if there's one team that's in a position to roll the dice on a guy who could end up being a little bit of a disappointment, but his ceiling could also be really high, then I think the Hawks kind of have the established stuff to make Cam's day a little easier. So we'll see what happens.